Hi there, it's Marilyn Hawes again for Unprecedented TV with my show Heart and Soul. And you can find us on YouTube under Unprecedented TV. But I'm also CEO of Freedom from Abuse, and that is looking into preventing abuse and helping those who have been abused and advocating for them, and even domestic abuse, whatever. But Heart and Soul, I really love this every Friday morning. I really like it because you get such interesting people on. Some that have had a dreadful trauma and drama and heartache, others really interesting jobs and can be amusing. But if you haven't been contacted by me, then please get in touch through Unprecedented TV and come on my show. I always like to think that someone is left, obviously, with hope at the end of it, but also maybe a greater insight into something, a world that they've never even considered, and how that might work and what it might look like. And none more today than I have a personal interest in this because I am interested in crime. I wanted to be a police officer and my dad wouldn't let me. But we are going to talk to Johanna Howell, excuse me, Johanna Howell, who came on my show about a couple of months ago when she found she had such injuries after her incredible sports career. And she went into the prison world as a prison officer. So we're going to hear some bits and some bits she can't because of the Official Secrets Act. But let's welcome Johanna now. Where are you?
Hi.
And here she is.
Good morning.
It's lovely to see you again.
I hope you're well. Thank you for the invite again. It's a pleasure.
No, I mean, what a different subject we're talking about today, because what I can never get my head around is how someone who is out in the free air running and leaping and doing whatever you do suddenly goes into a world of incarceration. How did that transition happen?
I know, and there was many people who thought that I would be the one who behind the bars there, Marilyn, from a long time ago. So I can confidently say that it was a conscious decision. It actually was. I was in my 40s and I'd spent 20 years in education, and I've done pretty much as there possibly can be without actually being a teacher in a secondary school. I've done pretty much all of the alternative curriculums and alternative educations. And I got to sort of like my mid-40s and I thought, you know what, I just really need a challenge. I'd got to the point where I'd retired from all my sport, and I was just feeling I need a challenge. I need something to challenge me every day that's going to put me out of my comfort zone, but also working with people and helping people, because that's kind of fundamentally the type of person that I am, and I've kind of, perfected that in my professional world. And there was openings obviously with the prison service, because they're always looking for staff for obvious reasons, a very high turnover. But I was also aware that I didn't want to work in Wales anymore. So it was very much a case of looking outside of Wales, somewhere kind of fairly local without being too local, where I could get my teeth stuck in, where I would be able to go in as a prison officer, learn the jail craft, learn how managing the prisoners is on a day-to-day basis, with a view of moving sideways into education, and reducing reoffending as a kind of a career path. So that was my rationale, and that was the conscious decision that I made back in 2017, and I joined January the 1st on 2018. So I went in and I did the 10 weeks training, and I went away to do my 10 weeks training. I've never been to university, so I thought, right, let's go away and let's go and do it full on, immerse yourself into it. And I absolutely loved it.
So when you say the 10 weeks training, was that literally like in a prison, or was it at a university?
I actually was fortunate enough that I managed to secure a place at Rugby, which is the head office for training.
Right.
I'm fortunate that I was able to secure a place there, as opposed to dotted around some satellite offices around the country. So I actually went away for 10 weeks. So I was away Monday to Friday, came back on a weekend, and then went back again. And I loved it. Absolutely.
So was that, I mean, principally, I suppose, what do you cover? No, I don't, what am I talking about? I haven't got a clue. What do you actually cover in that 10 weeks then?
A lot of the legal things.
Oh, right, okay.
What the legislation is, what the sort of legal parameters are, the human rights part of the entitlement, because that's a huge thing. Things like how to cuff somebody, what paperwork to fill in the event that they might have self-harmed, for example. You would learn CNR techniques, so the control and restraint, how you would control and restrain a prisoner. We did all that training. We did, well, every day. I mean, every day was something new. Every day, you know, I was fortunate enough that I was still very fit. So I was in the gym every morning at sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, in the gym every day, doing sort of like 20 minutes, half an hour, getting myself ready for the day. So you do classroom-based learning, and then a lot of hands-on activities. So dealing with a fire, for example, you need to do what the procedures are, what safety equipment is there, what is the do's and don'ts of that, the techniques of that, and then we would practice it. So we would do practice runs, and we would team up with other people. One would pretend to be a violent prisoner in the cell. That was always a bit of fun. And then obviously you would be assessed on how you undertook that incident, whether that be a cell fire, whether that be violence in the cell, a hostage situation, or whatever the case may be. So we did a lot of hands-on, real-time kind of scenarios to try and get used to the types of things that you'd be dealing with on a day.
I've been in prisons. I haven't been into female prisons, but I have been when I did a lot of work with Sky News. But they're not. They've become more woke than they ever used to be. And I used to go on a lot because I'm very outspoken. And I used to get letters that came through, rubber stamped by the prison governor, to go in and talk to a prisoner. Principally, with my job, it would be paedophiles. But I have been in a prison. How are you prepared, or does it come on your course? Suicide.
Yeah, you talk a lot about it, and you do a lot of work on mental health and on mental health awareness, and you know, particularly things like how to recognise the symptoms or behaviours of certain conditions as well, because you will have people in there who are going through a sex change, for example. So you'll have, I mean, for me, I was in a men's prison and I was in a category B prison. So quite a high level. So we had trans prisoners in there who hadn't had a full transition, but had the correct certification to be able to identify as female. And how you deal with that, you know, how you deal with that, because and again, you know, how you deal with, you know, your own views and opinions on certain things.
I think in these situations, it's really difficult. What do they call it? Unconscious bias. I think you really have to correct yourself, don't you? And thinking, am I being judgmental? I think the problem is, it's interesting you mentioned the transgender thing, because I know from the work I do that if the toddler is still working, then there's no way you can say you're a woman, really. And it's a huge risk. And it has happened, isn't it, where a man has gone into a woman's prison and then they use the because I've had a case with this that I was helping with. They use the human rights thing, don't they? Because there was this one guy, this is going back about just before COVID, and he was, my name is Jane. Well, I mean, honestly, he still looked like John. and anyway, and the female prison guards or guards officers, whatever, used to say to the ladies, don't go in the showers because Jane is in there at the moment, you know. And then Jane heard about this and Jane got really arsy about it, and then she claimed human rights, that, you know, but Jane went on and raped 2 of the women prisoners. So that is a real bone of contention, isn't it? I mean,
and they stopped putting trans into female prisons in the event that they hadn't had the full transition, for that very reason. Personally, I never had any need to be worried or concerned with. We had several in our prison, and to be honest, they were brilliant. They were great. They were who they were, and they were more than happy with that. And you know, there wasn't there wasn't a lot of violence that came from them, actually.
But did they attract violence? I mean, there must be in a man's prison. I mean, do they not get bullied and messed up a bit with the very, very alpha male that, you know what I mean?
I do understand what you mean, but personally, I never witnessed that.
Oh, good. That's good.
I personally didn't witness
That's good.
any sort of what I would call picking out a particular individual, directing that at that individual. Personally, in my experience in the 5 years I was there, I did not witness that at all. In fact,
That's good.
In fact, I actually witnessed the complete opposite.
Oh, that's really good. That's actually nice to know. That's the sort of that is a good thing to know that they,
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, in the prison that I was in, there was a vulnerable unit. So there was a unit there for people who were classed as VP, so vulnerable prisoners, whether that be somebody who has run up an enormous debt, let's say a drug debt or a debt of some description to another prisoner, and they're now being, targeted. So they've been moved out of that area and they've been put into a vulnerable people's unit to protect them, basically.
Well, yes, because I know I'm looking every day with the work I do. I go through morning, noon, and night to see who's done what in court, who's going down for this, who's going down for that. And I think the ones that get the worst treatment is if you are a police officer and you have abused children, and you know full well that the inside they have their own rules, and you know full well that they are going to get far worse than anything they could have imagined, which, is that right? Well, it's human nature. I mean, that's what they're the most hated people, aren't they, paedophiles? And if it's a police officer as well, so you've abused your trust. But let's just go fast forward for a moment while we're talking about how other prisoners feel. I can't remember his surname. I don't really want to say his name, but I know Vikram, the guy, awful guy that so brutally murdered Henry Novak. Now, when he went in, I did say on Twitter, people must think I'm an absolute bitch, but I did put out on Twitter, well, good luck, pal, because you've got everything stacked against you. And he'd only been in there a week, and there was this thing, he's been attacked in the prison, and I thought and read on a bit further, and of course he had been what I know as napalmed. And if you like to, I know what that is, I know what it does. And I thought, I'm sorry, I've got no empathy for you at all, pal. Can you describe, because I think what they leave the prisoners in overnight is actually a threat of that happening. Can you explain?
Well, from my understanding, going back a few years ago, there was a big push on trying to improve the standards of the first night centres across the So that is the area designated within the jail that would be looking after people who have just come into that jail, whether they've been transferred from another jail, whether they've come straight from court, or for whatever reason. And I worked on the first night. I actually worked really hard with and got the first night centre to a point where I had a PID orderly who is a main prisoner contact, who was there coordinating on my behalf the turnover of the cells, for example. So we had a group of cleaners. We would have another group that would go around and do what I would call the recce. So they would go around and find and make sure that we had the toilet rolls, the appropriate mattresses, and the pillow, and all of the things that somebody would need on the first night there. Because my attitude was when I took that role on was, if you can minimise the amount of worry or concern on day one, then first of all, you are going to have less agitation from that individual throughout the first 24 hours. So that means, from a staffing perspective, that individual is not actually consuming your staff time very much. So we had a really good way of being able to turn over cells really quickly. And the group of boys that I had working with me were incredible. It was like a little hotel landing. They got to a point where the toilet rolls were all perfectly sat nicely. And even to the point where the prisoners would come in and they'd say, wow, like not expecting. But there was nothing for them to come back to them, because they had everything that they needed. My role then was very much about embedding them into what we do here in our establishment, what the rules are within our establishment, what time is breakfast, what time do we do free flow, what time does work start, what day is library. So all of those information would be provided within the first night. So obviously, you know, what you want in that environment is fast turnover, in out, in out, in out, in out, because when they come to me for a couple of days, they'll be sent out to somewhere else in the establishment. So we want that to be quick and turned over. What we don't want is any hangover of violence coming with that individual into the first night, because that can be catastrophic. And obviously, you know, you are dealing with such an array of different individuals. So some of these individuals will come in and they will have a reputation outside of the jail, and they'll say, well, do you know who I am? 99% of the time, my response was, I have no idea who you are apart from what it says on your name tag. That you need to treat me differently. Oh, I don't think I do. I need to, and this was my attitude, was, well, actually, I'm not treating you any differently to anybody else, because then you'll tell me that I'm not treating you with equality, and then that's not happening. My job is to make sure that your human rights and your equality is being dealt with in day one. And it would stop a lot of the aggravation. It didn't stop it completely, because there was some that were pushed boundaries, obviously. But the first night was a department that really helped to stabilise that amount of flow. But then obviously within the jail, then there's a drug section. So somebody who's coming in who's got a history of drug and alcohol issues, you know, and I worked on that landing for quite a while, you know, and you see different people, different characters, different types of people. Yeah. Different needs, different levels of what I would call the emotional intelligence, to be able to manage emotion, which actually probably the biggest thing, what I witnessed, what I saw was, not only do rules not apply in a traditional sense, because they have their own rules.
Yeah.
They have their own standards, they have their own. And it might not sound logical to you as an officer. And it might, sometimes it was a bit like, oh, I don't know if I should be responding to this, or whether I should just take a step back and just let that happen on its own. And there were times when I really struggled with my own views and opinions. And, you know, I got to a point where I had to say to as you mentioned earlier, unconscious bias. You know, and unconscious bias is massive. It's huge in the prison service. You know, not just from staff, but from prisoners as well.
Yeah,
and
of course.
It happens both ways. You know, prisoners can automatically assume that a particular officer is going to treat them like shit.
Yes.
And then there's another officer that they know that they can bend over backwards. And then there'll be another officer like me that they know that if they come and ask me for help, I will do what I can to help you. But if I say I'm going to help you, I'm going to do it, whether that means I stay behind after my shift. If that's what it requires, that's what it requires. But if I say I'll help you, I'll help you. But what I'm expecting you to do is help yourself as well. So I would put that back on them. You know, so it was very much a two-way thing for me. I think being mature, being confident in myself, being mature emotionally, and being able to, having worked with lots of people, you know, I was able to literally, like a chameleon almost, change how I was, dependent upon who I was dealing with and when, and what that circumstances was being. You mentioned earlier about, when we spoke before we started the recording, about the hospitals.
Yes.
The hospital section within the prison. Well, the establishment that I was in, we had our own department that was a hospital wing. And the way in which that is managed and run is very different to the way segregation is managed and run, which is very different to the way that the landings are also run. Generally, food is the same across the board. But other than that, the way in which the prisoners are managed differs. So you need to be up to speed with that. So, you know, from a prison officer's perspective, you know, you are required to be able to react, but also you need to be reacting within rule. And that wasn't easy.
No, I'm sure. I mean, so go back to this guy who had, as I call it, napalmed, because I know that's what they call it. Can you explain to people what that is. I know what it is, but I think it's also avoidable. But it can, please do tell people.
Kind of different ways in which the prisoners. I don't like using that word because I think it's very stereotypical. I like the word resident. I just because I'm kind of. I don't think the prisons are what they actually should be. So therefore, calling them a prisoner is just is pointless because they're a resident. They get just as much rights as I do.
Yes.
They do in there. So for me, they're residents. They're not prisoners because they're not
residents at the King's pleasure.
Other than the fact they get their daughter, it's not but there are certain things that they do that it's quite violent that the prisoners can do. Whether that's they can use a combination of hot boiling water and sugar, for example, which they will mix together, and that gives like a solution which is not only boiling hot but also like a sticky glue almost. And if that's thrown over you, then we're talking second-degree burn level. In serious issues to skin. But also potting is another favourite where they'll use their toilet tin and save it in a bucket, and then mix that around with various other bodily fluids, and we'll put that into a concoction, and one day they'll just decide enough's enough and they may well throw it at you.
I mean, I've known when I was went in them, I know the prisoners I spoke to, some they it's amazing what you can do. We're always frisked for any sort of pointed gadgets or whatever, but he said you'd be amazed what you can do with the end of a toothbrush. You can make that point. And what you can do with the inside of a toilet roll, you can, the end of it, you can make it so tight that it does become like a pointed end that you can actually stab somebody with. I mean, it is absolutely. I mean, I always, before I went into the prisons, I always found it odd when people said, oh, and when I go to work, I thought, go to work? What do you mean? And then I realised, explain, because there is hope in there, isn't there, for people that want to learn to do something. Do explain what that means, because I was shocked. I thought they go out on a minibus and they end up working in Tesco's or something.
That might happen in a decap prison. In a decap prison that might well happen, because they are encouraged to secure employment in the community, and then they'll go back to the establishment and sleep there overnight. They are encouraged to do that in a category D prison, but I was in a category B prison, and we had a lot of category A prisoners in there. So there was a lot of violence quite severe violence, a lot of gang related violence within the prison, quite extremist violence as well, whether that be religious based. But there are times when it is a scary environment to be in. I mean, there's no disputing that. I was witness to several very big violent events. I was part of the staff who had to react to that incident. For me personally, what I found was it wasn't in the moment, it was afterwards. It was when you were reflecting. It was when you were doing your you do like a team talk afterwards, like before everything is written up, and check everybody, make sure everybody's okay, there's no injuries, except everyone's feeling okay and nobody's spooked and whatever. And it wasn't until after that I was able to kind of process and detox and kind of what had actually happened, what my part of that was, how did I respond? Was I spooked? Did I respond in the right way, the wrong? Do I need to be, and I was very self-critical to myself about how I managed certain incidences. But I was very fortunate that because I came from an educational background and because I came from a background of personal development, pretty much it got round the prison that I was the person that had the hope. I was the person that was encouraging people. So, for example, within the first couple of weeks of me being new into the prison, I'm working in a wing that's got 90 plus people on it, and I'm wanting to know why they're not all off my wing, going to education, going to work, going into the gym, going into mental health awareness and substance misuse groups and things
Yes.
like that. I wanted to know why they weren't out. So I made it my mission to get off my landing as many people as I possibly could through the daytime. And what to the point where 7 o'clock in the morning, I would be banging on their door saying, up, you're being collected in 5. You wanted me to go and get you that place on that course. I did. I went out of my way and did a favour for a favour to get you that. You will get up. And you will get up and you will get dressed and you are going. And because I
And
was
what if they don't? What if they don't? What if they say, yes, stuff you?
I never had that problem.
Oh, good.
I never had that problem. There were a couple of people that you kind of knew, and you kind of got you kind of got to know people, and you got to know the ones who were the ones who would pull the wool over your eyes, and there were lots of ones who'd like to pull the heartstrings, and but you have to let them have a little bit, Marilyn.
Yes, of course.
There's a little. You have to let them have a little bit.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I get that you've got to let them feel that they won that one.
Of course, but that doesn't mean to say that I'm going to make it easy for them.
No.
But also, I would expect them to take some level of ownership for the problem themselves. Also, and for the perfect case in point, one of the big projects that I did not long after I started was trying to improve the way the PID orderly, which is the designated representative per wing that would act on behalf of the prisoners, to help with providing information as to where you go and get X, Y, Z. So if a prisoner wanted to have more money put on their phone account, for example, there was a phone. That PID orderly would explain that to that individual, would talk them through it, help them through the process. And, and it was all very, I pushed that a lot. I really did push that a lot. What that did, surprisingly enough, faster than I expected, was it actually reduced the amount of silly little requests that prison officers were dealing with on a day-by-day basis, to the point where we could actually do our job.
Yes.
Because we're being hounded every 2 minutes by somebody saying, I put an application in 2 weeks ago and I haven't heard anything. I'm going to kick off. I'm going to throw poo, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to cut my arm so much and pull my ligaments out of my arm if you don't do it. But it's not. And I say that in joke, but in actual fact, they were some of the things that actually happened.
Yes, I mean, so you've got your prison hospital there, but
Yeah.
I have been because I, myself or someone's had to be taken to A&E, and you see prisoners. I mean, I was at Bedford Hospital not so long ago in the A&E department, and there was a prisoner there that had 4 officers with him, and he was handcuffed to the head of the bed, and obviously wherever. And I thought, crikey, that's a bit extreme. I mean, knowing that you have a hospital within the prison, I mean, how bad would it? What is it they can't cope with then in the prison hospital?
It's the injuries.
I
mean, if you think about the hospital wing being more of a case of, instead of it dealing with what I would call your cuts, your grazes, it's not that type of hospital. It's more mental health related. So there are a full team of mental health experts on site, NHS mental health experts, not prison officer and prison staff experts. We're talking NHS experts on site. And they would pretty much manage the medication, for example, who has what and when, and the distribution of. So that would be that. They would be people who would need to go to maybe a specialist prison hospital, but there's no space for them. But they're too unwell to be on main pop. So they would be set aside in what we call, the hospital wing. It would maybe somebody who is suicidal, somebody who is on a constant watch. In other words, they have an officer sitting right next to them through an open gated cell for 24 hours, recording everything that's happening with that individual on a minute by minute basis.
So do they do operations there in that? Oh, right. Okay. So then you would go to, so if you had appendicitis or something, you would have to go to a main hospital.
Yeah.
Right. So the guy, so this Vikram, who was napalmed with this sticky jam stuff on his face, he would have had to have gone to hospital then, or would they have been able to deal with that inside?
Yeah, they would. Yeah. So I mean, I did plenty of runs, hospital, situations where one of you, if it's a 2-person team, say for example, for a standard prisoner, one would have you be cuffed to the prisoner, and the other one would be uncuffed but would be carrying the keys, for example.
Yes.
All the paperwork and all of the emergency detail and all the emergency information needed, the mobile phone and all that sort of stuff. But I was fortunate, I think, because other colleagues of mine weren't as fortunate as I, and they did have to deal with some pretty horrific, personally horrific violence that they needed to
within the same prison that you were in.
I was in. Yeah.
Oh, because I know Cat B is yeah, I know. I mean the paedophile that abused.
Don't be underestimated by what the standard of violence can be like in a Cat B prison, because
they are. Yeah, they're yeah. I mean, I spoke to Lucy Connolly about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she got on okay because she has emotional intelligence, but she was definitely a political prisoner, there's no doubt about it. But she was helping a lot of the women who were not educated. She would write, and she became, I think, quite popular because she said, "Well, I'm here." But she still knew how to stick up for herself. But she did quite a lot
as well. Yeah.
I mean, did you find after your 10-week training, did it actually prepare you for your first day?
No, not at all. I can tell you a funny story, Marilyn, which won't get me in trouble, but not long after I went live, I came back from my training, and then what they call, you go live. So you are now live in, you're part of the schedule, you're not an add-on anymore. You're not a bystander watching anymore. You are now it. Mm-hmm. And that was quite daunting. And the wing that I was working on from word go was a very active wing. We had some very high level residents in there. In fact, we had quite a few, to the point where, our wing was supposedly the wing that was going to have all the trouble. But as it happened, we had a really good team of staff, like myself and another colleague like myself, who was an educational background. We made our business to get off that landing as many people as possible into activity, to the point where we were that successful that we had over 75% of our landing off in activity every single day.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
The beauty of that was you had a quiet wing through the daytime, so you had more time to deal with the people left. And usually the people that were left were the ones who needed your attention.
Yes.
So we helped to balance that by putting that little bit of extra effort in getting them off the wing into activity, helped us to have the time and the ability to be able to support the ones who needed it in a better way. It also looked good for our statistics because we had a lot of people in activity. But what we found was the problem that it was, and I laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny at the time, was when you've got 45 people coming back from activity, but they've already fed the ones who are there, and the ones who are there have taken food that they've not ordered, which happens to be the food from the ones who've been in activity all day. Doesn't go down well, Marilyn. Didn't go down well. So that obviously caused a massive amount of problems. That caused some huge problems for a couple of days. That was, the wing was not a happy wing. They were not impressed, So there was, quite a few things, but, you get to learn how to manage. People get to learn who you are. They knew I had a role. If I saw it, heard it, smelt it, I had a job to do.
Yeah.
And they knew that about me. They knew that if they asked me if I could help, and I had a little police book, like a little police book. Mm-hmm. And I'd say, oh, it's full today, so I can't do it today. I've got time. But come back to me first thing in the morning, I'll do it for you first thing. Yes. And they would be waiting for me because they know, and I think there was some officers who got to have a reputation of, oh, you're the go-to person for this, or you're the go-to person for that. Yes. You're the go-to person for that. I was the go-to person for them when they wanted a straight talk. So when they wanted straight talking and they wanted somebody to actually help with the melee of craziness going on in their mind. That's who I was, that person. They would beeline for me to talk to me, and I would be able to talk them round into understanding. For example, one particular incident, and I can talk to you about it because it's not breaking any rules, but one particular incident, and I'd had a prisoner on my first night who'd been there for quite a while. That arrangements were made for him to stay on my first night centre for quite a while. And he was very emotionally withdrawn. And I was trying to work out why. And so I approached him and I was like, look, I've been watching you for a couple of days and you're really withdrawn. And you're not your usual self. You've not been out on exercise. You've not been your chirpy little self first thing in the morning, this shifting behaviour, what's going on? And he told me this elongated story about his ex-partner, the baby mum, the baby mum. And, because they've got baby mums and they call them baby mums. And, my number one baby mummer, and all this. And she's giving me a hard time. She won't let me see my children. She won't let me speak to my children, but she's demanding money from me, this kind of thing. And I was witness to a conversation that he had with said ex-partner over the telephone. And I was livid, Marilyn. I don't think I've gone from 0 to 100 myself personally at any point in the prison service when I was there for the 5 years I was there. That moment was the one and only time I went from 0 to 100. I was fuming. I can't express to you how agitated and annoyed I was about the violence coming over the phone. The level of violence that individual was being put through by the female outside.
Yeah, Bob, yes.
It opened my eyes to the other side of being involved in a prison environment, because it's not all them being rude, nasty, horrible.
No.
Because they are victims in their own sense, in some capacity. And that was difficult to handle. That was, for me, that was really difficult, because I had to accept there was a level of vulnerability with them then. And when you've gone into an environment like that, and again, it comes back to the unconscious bias, and you think, oh, well, you murdered a child, therefore you deserve it. You deserve everything you get, and I'm going to turn a blind eye to, you can't do that when you work in a prison.
Of course you can't. And there's two sides to every story. I mean, I know a barrister, I know a barrister who showed me, this is a couple of years ago, showed me this photograph of this gorgeous woman. I mean, she was about 5'2", long blonde hair, looked absolutely stunning. And I said, well, what's she done? You wouldn't believe it, would you? He said she's literally lacerated her boyfriend and stuffed him through a plate glass window. What? Oh, yeah. And people don't realise women, and that's what I think about women in prisons. Women can be vile, worse in some ways than men. I mean, they will rip fingernails off, won't they, and do all sorts of violent, horrible things. I mean, Lucy Connolly said she was in with someone who, because she was in, Cat B, I mean, for goodness sake, sending a tweet, it's ridiculous, but she was in with someone who was in there for 34 years because this woman had murdered both her parents. And suddenly it's like, you've only been there 2 weeks, and there's something, oh my God, I'm on the, oh my goodness me. But, I don't know how she did it. I mean, have you seen, or were you, while you were working, because I think maybe the type of residents, as you're calling them, going in are predominantly violent by nature of, I'm basically talking about migrants, basically, let me just spit it out there, that they're, what they call a culture is not a culture at all, and they come in here with already violent, already with criminal records from their own background, which then suggests to me that prisons could now be more violent than they ever were.
I would agree. And even in the time I was there was a pattern, and because of the location that I was in, we had a lot of London spillover as well. So you're dealing with a different class of violent individual in a completely different way, because they are hardened professional criminals.
Yes.
And as a consequence, sorry, my dog is Maya's having a moment.
I don't want to hear the snoring.
You know, it's, well, I want to use the word culture. And what I mean by that is they carry the stigma of being the immigrant anyway. They haven't transitioned from the culture that they've been brought up in to being it within the British culture, which is a lot more open. And if we go back to what Britain technically was, the dynamic of Britain and how we became who we are, was because we allowed people to come here. You know, we encourage people to come here, to be diverse, to open up the Commonwealth. You know, what we're seeing now is we're not seeing Commonwealth countries come to this country anymore. We're not seeing, well, we do see it, but on a very, very, very small level.
Yes.
In comparison, you know, the majority of immigration applications nowadays are not from people from the Commonwealth. And when we're talking about the culture of the people that are coming in to the prison service now, we are having to accept, or they are having to accept, that the prisons are unable to function. And I will stand here and I will say this quite confidently from my own personal experience. They are unable to attain and achieve these outcomes that have been set by government, because the way in which the dynamics work in that prison, in the prison service, does not lend favourably to the process and procedures that they have in place. I can say that because I've been there and I've done it.
That makes total sense, because I think to some people that, I mean, I just can't believe how we've become in this country. I really can't. And it's not, you can't get away from it that, you know, Sudanese, Somalians, these are not nice countries. And, you know, they come, well, you take your culture with you, don't you? I mean, I was an expat in Portugal for 2 years, and you can't go and suddenly become Portuguese. I mean, you have your humor, you have your way of thinking, you have your actual natural culture that you were brought up in, and that's the same for anybody coming. So what's the chances then of people that go in coming from these? I find it calling it a culture a very strange word, because to me it's just anything but. It's a medieval revolting violence. I mean, what are the chances of them coming out, given that prison is supposed to be a place of rehabilitation? What are the chances after their sentence of them being reformed?
Well, perfect question, because that was fundamentally that was the reason why I went into the prison service.
Yes.
Officer, was because I worked on the outside and I dealt with them on release and back into the community, and I've done all that bit for 15 years, so I knew what was coming out. And my question was, what the hell are they doing in there for them to come like that, for them to come out in that state, for them to come out in that complete bewilderness of what the world still needs to help me, you know? And it's reducing reoffending is not just education. And until we get people to understand that reducing reoffending is the umbrella term that is used. And if you don't have a security system, for example, that is effective, your security strategy is not effective within the prison, you've got no chance of reducing reoffending. You've got no chance of rehabilitating anybody.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, an individual needs an environment.
Yes.
So then let's look at the environments that these people then are being asked to rehabilitate themselves within. You know, it's like saying, well, we're just going to go and dig a big hole over there and put a pipe in it, and that's your environment to rehabilitate yourself in. And I expect you to come out the other side rehabilitated. It's not going to happen. You will get the people in there who want to follow an academic time while they're in there.
Yes.
And that goes through their GCSEs that have been provided by the PEF, which is the Prison Education Framework. So you will have organisations like Western College, for example, who've got a massive PEF project, contracts with the prison service across a variety of different establishments. They will offer, you know, the GCSEs, you know, your English, your maths, your ITs, your cooking skills, you know. And then there'll be vocational.
Plumbing, they do plumbing, don't they? Plumbing, brickwork, all that sort of stuff as well. But you've got
alternative curriculum then. So you've got your main academic curriculum, which is your traditional qualifications. Then you've got your vocational, which is all your stuff, which is all of your apprenticeships, your vocational learning,
Yes.
is done over time, obviously, and integrated into a working scenario. So you need to have your industries within the jail sorted, because otherwise, how are they going to do their apprenticeship?
Oh,
if
that's
the
right.
apprenticeship requires them to demonstrate they've done X, Y, Z, but they can't, because all they're doing is putting a button on a pipe.
Yeah.
Because that's it.
I mean,
Or
have
they
you
put a letter
seen
in an envelope, and that's all they're doing all day, you know?
how many young men that came to you, I don't know if it's a question you can answer actually, had actually been in young offenders institutes?
I couldn't say off the top of my head, but there were a substantial amount of 18-year-olds in there when I was there, most of which had been in a YO establishment. So again, I've not worked in a YO establishment, but I've watched a lot of documentaries. I've spoken to people who have worked in a YO, and it was something that I did consider for a long time. But I didn't feel that you would be able to get through successfully to somebody of that range as well as you could for somebody who's slightly older and their circumstances are slightly different. So that was my main reason for going into the adult prison. But you're right. I mean, the way in which, for example, control and restraint is not used in a YO jail like it is in an adult jail.
Yes.
Well, if you've got somebody coming at you and hitting you with a chair.
Yeah. I've had a classroom, by the way.
Well, yeah, or a pool ball, or a snooker cue, or
yes,
whatever, the leg of a chair, or
yeah,
whatever the case may, or a bin. That was another one. That was a good one. Bin. Then I think we have to really reanalyze what the term reducing reoffending actually means.
Yes.
And until the prison system accepts that reducing reoffending should be the holistic umbrella.
Absolutely.
And everything else filters from that. Not reducing reoffending is just a little bubble over here on its own and we kind of forget about it because we're too busy dealing with all the rest of the shit that goes on. Until that mindset shift and that system is shifted, I can't genuinely see us getting any better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested also. I wrote to Mr. Timpson at one point, yeah. And I mean, of course, the people that work in Timpson's key and heel bars, they've all been in prison, haven't they? And that is a sign of hope. And there is definite expectations of what you're going to be like. So whether those have come from an open prison, I don't know. But I do, some part of me just does feel that some people are so far gone down this dangerous, awful route of violence that they can't be rehabilitated because you've done what you've done for so many years and getting worse. I mean, it's just, I mean, I find it a fascinating world. I found when I'd gone in there, we're coming up to time, I'm going to have to wrap it up in a minute, but I found my memory of going in there was, even though they're clean, I felt dirty when I came out. I felt I had absorbed. Every time I came out, I felt, because you're queuing up with all the other people going in, and it was the sound of metal, the ta-ting, ta-ting, ta-ting of the keys, and the slamming of the doors, and it ricochets, doesn't it? Because everything is concrete and stone, and that's my lasting memory. And if you've got to live with that as a resident or as an officer every day, I think my nerves would be absolutely shattered. And there's no way. I mean, I actually asked once when I was around, I said to an officer, I said, they were all on lockdown, these residents, right? And he said, show me an actual empty cell. And he did. And I said, go on, shut me in it. Pretend I'm coming here for like 10 years. Go on. Oh, my life. And the door slammed. And I mean, I thought, my goodness, lots of people should see what it's like, the sounds, knowing. And I said, don't come back for 10 minutes, knowing I was nearly hyperventilating by the time he came back. And those walls close in on you, don't you? And therefore you go out and you do a crime again. Goodness me. I mean, and you're back in there again. I mean, the mindset of people, some people I just can't get. But I also know a very, very well-known barrister and lawyer. He said, I have known probably more innocent people that end up going inside than the guilty ones because of the court system, which is very sad. We have got to end it here. Give me one last bit of hope for anyone that's going to think about, what would you say now? I am going to think about becoming a prison officer. No, I'm not. What would you say to me in one sentence to say, what would you say?
It is an incredibly rewarding role.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly rewarding role. If you are the sort of person who is confident enough in yourself and who you are as an individual, and you have any level of care or humanitarian understanding for people, then it is a very rewarding environment. But don't be mistaken by the environment that you're going into. You are going into an environment that requires camaraderie. You can't be a person who sits on the outskirts. You are, you need to be part of a team. If you work individually, you're going to struggle in that environment because you need people around you to protect you and got your back. However, what I would say is that for the younger people who are going into the prison, my personal opinion is don't. Don't. That's my personal opinion. My personal professional opinion is for anybody under the age of 25, don't.
Yeah, you've got to have some life skills, haven't you? And only maturity brings that. Johanna, it's been fascinating. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the good work you've done while you were there, because you will be remembered by people. So there is hope. If your child, grandchild, whatever ends up inside, there will be a Johanna, hopefully, that they come across. So I thank you ever so much. It is a side of life I find absolutely fascinating. So thank you so much for your time. And I'll talk to you later.
Yeah,
bye-bye.
You have a lovely day and take care. And
thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Good watching for all your viewers. Take care.
Bye-bye, love.
Bye-bye.
Where's she gone?
I'm still here. I'm still here. I don't know if... Do you want me to end this or... You're welcome. Don't.
Oh, hi, can you hear me? I don't know if it's you now or me. Can you hear me? Let me just come back in. What about now? Oh. Let me just play a song and see if it'll play on my computer. Dancing with somebody. That's us next week. Let me ring you. I can't hear it at all. Maybe you come out of it and go back in it. Maybe because when all right. Oh. There she is.
Hello.
Hello there. How are you doing? That was really good, wasn't it?
It was good, wasn't it? Very good. I'm very interested in prison life. I really am. It's you know. So how did you get on all week with Russell? Was it good?
Oh yeah. Well, obviously it's not Mike, is it? But did you watch any?
I mean, how do you? I mean, what a hard act to follow.
I know.
I mean, he's very brave to have done it.
He talks too much, really. And so like when you were asking a question, he was like, did like a bit of a monologue and then ask the question.
I find Calvin Mackenzie like that.
Yeah, I know.
I said, okay, you've made your point.
Yeah. But no, I mean, like when he was, so like for example, you know, like in the first hour where we have someone reviewing the paper, he kept like looking at the camera and talking to the camera rather than to the person next to him. Like really, just a relaxed conversation. It don't matter. You don't need to look at the camera because it's the camera's on you. Anyway.
But he's used to having a camera lens in front of him, isn't he? To sort of say, I mean, it's you know, I don't have a problem looking like this, that, and the other. I just because you're being filmed, so therefore you're being filmed, aren't you? You know, but no, I haven't see any of it. I've been so busy. But so that's great for next week though, because if you come up, because I could pick you up if you got off at Flitwick.
Yes, that's where you live, isn't it?
Yeah. So you've got to be very careful if you get to St Pancras. You want the Thames link, and you need to check because they don't all stop at Flitwick. Some go on, you know, they stop at Luton and then some go straight on to Bedford. So you need to get the Flitwick one and let me know. I can come and get you and then we can go off. Because if it takes an hour and 4 minutes, it says to get from my place to there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what time the thing starts, but
we'd like to get there comfortably, wouldn't we?
Well, I don't want to be driving.
You need to do my hair anyway.
Exactly. makeup, dress. I don't want to drive in my dress.
No way, no, because we're going to stay.
Then I can take you back. You know, I can drop you off at Flitwick because all the trains from Flitwick stop at Bedford, and that's the end of the line.
Yes. All right. Well, I might
only 15 minutes.
Newport, yeah. I might need to go from yours to Newport. It's the same.
Derby.
Oh, I know. Oh, my geography is all over the show. Burnley's where I'm from. My grandma's at the end of her life, and I've been having to go up there to see my grandma. Wayne's in Newport, works in London. I came back here the other day, driving up on Wednesday or whatever. I thought, why have I got this place? Because I don't really know anyone around here. It's lovely. So I need to decide what I'm doing. I'm probably moving to London.
I think it's too much.
I know. They get me in my car.
It's beautiful where you live, but there's some nice parts outside. If you don't go into London per se, you know, you could like get a tube in, or you know, you don't have to go right into London.
Right, can I ask you a question?
What?
So, UK Live, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, well, there's loads of things flying around. Oh, sorry, I've got an itchy foot. In an ideal world, if you were to have a show on UK Live, what would it look like? And what I mean by that is frequency and what the content would be.
Well, I'd quite like to do Heart and Soul. That's
yes.
And getting people on again who are, you know, who what you'd call it something different if you like. But I do think it's interesting having people who've got, I mean, you could not do an hour. You could have if the show was an hour, you could do maybe 3 lots of 20 minutes, you know, but I think what people like about this one is that they get time. That's what Siobhan White said, is what Lucy Connolly said. I could say things because I didn't feel the clock ticking that this interview is going to be in a minute. It's going to be, you stopping now, you know, like, oh, that was lovely you came on, and oh, I got 15 minutes, or you know what I mean? They all said they could really open up. So I think that aspect is interesting. And I'm across most things. I wouldn't want it, for me, I wouldn't want it to be too political. For me, I'm not, I have a view of politics. So I think when I've been on TV, I like going on. It doesn't always have to be about child abuse. Do you know what I mean? But that's when I don't mind joining in. I mean, you've seen me on Plank of the Week. I've got an opinion on different people. So you can ask. I think what I've always liked to do is almost be the public voice of this is what the general people would love the opportunity to say. So here I am saying it, if that makes sense, because I do get, when I've been on, say, GB News or anything like that, I get a lot of people saying, you spoke so much sense. You've said what I would love to say, but couldn't have put it like that. And so I'd like to, what's the public feeling? You know what I mean?
Could you see yourself, as well as that, being on like a Loose Women type panel show?
Oh, God, yes. Do you know what? I had someone that came to lunch the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. With his girlfriend, right? Narcissistic. I saw the previous girlfriend get carved up, right? Narcissistic. Psychopath, basically. Yeah. Anyway, I pick him up from the hotel where they're staying at Flitwick Manor. I pick them up, and immediately he gets in the car and he says, he's the sort of person that will end the relationship. You don't chuck him, he chucks you. But before he chucks you, he makes sure he's on Match.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay, she gets in the car. I pick him up. He gets in the front seat. They immediately start. So you're doing really well on, your media, aren't you? You should get on Loose Women. I said, I've been on Loose Women. No, you should handle Loose Women. I said, well, why would I want to do that? They're perfect bitches. He said to me, so are you.
Who is this person?
A twat.
All right, okay.
And I said, excuse me? Pardon? And then I'd done this beautiful lunch with a half side of salmon and, you know, and a lovely lunch. She's lovely. And God, and then he picks an argument with her. And I thought, here we go again. Here he is again. you know, you can never be wrong. And of course, he can't. I think he hates me because I will not be manipulated by him. I tell him what I think. And he, you know, some people, men can't take it, can they? Some men can't take it.
So as well, in other news,
I mean, I think panels are great fun.
Oh well, another one actually on that. If it was ever necessary, do you think you could, like say for example, Kelvin McKenzie, who is an investor in the UK Live.
Yeah, right, okay.
He's going to have his own show. He might have a co-host. He might need someone filling in for him from time to time. Would that be something you'd be up for?
Yeah, I can blag anything. I mean,
I know.
Is he? Would he always be heavy? I find him quite heavy, with peppered little bits of humour sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he's quite heavy. Yeah. I find him a bit boring, actually.
Yeah, I find him entertaining, but he doesn't know when to stop sometimes. Yeah.
No, that's right. Sometimes, right, you made your point. Don't. You know, but anyway, I can. I think I could like. Yeah. I'm not frightened of anything that's thrown at me, but I think panels are good fun. They are good. I think they're fun.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thinking about all this, and then so I've just spoken to Lembit as well. And because I'll send you a video of a show he used to do. I think he only did like 6 episodes called Cats and Dogs. Has he told you about it?
Oh, he has told me about it. Yeah.
It was really funny, actually. Like, really,
he showed me very funny. He showed me one that he did with this Asian guy he knows about. Pretending to be a migrant coming over on a boat. I mean, I missed myself laughing. It was so funny. Very funny.
Pooch reckons that he's got that late night comedy thing about him.
I think he probably has.
So I've asked him if he'd do it. He said, yeah.
He doesn't mind late nights.
Yes. Yeah. And he lives 30 minutes away from the studio as well. Yeah.
He doesn't mind late nights. I don't know what's happening to his house. He tried phoning just as I started.
Oh, did he? Yeah, he tried calling me as well. That's why I called him back. So I'm just thinking, I've not spoken to anyone about it. I'm just speaking to you now. That even if he's still trying to carry on with Unprecedented, I know he's doing this forum thing. He mentioned that as well.
I don't know what it is. I truly can't get my head around it. I honestly
don't. It sounds like this CPAC thing. You know, like that CPAC.
Yeah, what is that?
It's like a conservative conference. You know what I mean? Anyway, but I think it's like he's trying to do that when it's already a thing.
I don't understand it. I just don't. It's like what they were going to do with Rodney, that they were going to join because he's got so many platforms across America, and that was going to be that. But now, because they didn't get the funding, it seems to have morphed into something else, and I can't get my head around it.
Well, I think now's the time to just say, look, I reckon. In terms of Heart and Soul, obviously keep it is brilliant.
But no one's paying me for it.
No, and exactly. So we'll bring it on to.
Because I invoiced him £3,750 because I said to him at the start, it's 150 an hour.
Oh, did you?
That's Lembit, because I said by the time I've done the prep, I find the people. You know what I mean? I do the questions up front and get what I'm going to say, why? I mean, why not?
Well, I think personally that if Lembit's going to have his own evening show, you're going to have this and other things, hopefully.
Yeah, I like this, and I do I think there's some real value in it that people. Yeah, because it is giving that. The trouble is you get these short sound bites on GB News or wherever you're on. So if it's somebody like Siobhan White or something like that, or like Lucy Connolly or someone like Charlie's Promise and people like that, you've got to give them the respect to actually, get comfortable with. It's lovely. Loads of people have said you were so easy to be on with.
Yeah. If it came down to it, and you could maybe come to the studio once a week to film it.
Yes.
And then you'd pay for obviously for travel and stuff. It'll look a bit different, won't it? When
Absolutely. I can do that. I can do that once a week. Yeah. And I mean, when I'm down there, I could then do a panel thing as well. For example.
Exactly. Yeah. World's your oyster, really. And then, so I'm also thinking of Full Throttle that I do. That if we can migrate that over to UK Live, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And does that girl Dyer? Does she still do stuff?
Do you know what? I was thinking that the other day. I've not seen it.
Dyer. I don't know whether she does. I don't know. I haven't asked, but I think she got fed up with not being paid.
Not surprised. Yeah.
You see, I have to be. I can't keep doing this for nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
Well.
Yeah, go on. No, I mean, I can't keep. You can't. I think it's exploiting people, quite honestly.
Yeah, well, it's just what's he doing it for if he's not going to? Yeah, I don't know if it's. I think he's just being ridiculous.
It's stupid.
What's
it's really
the end goal? Yeah.
Probably he's all over the place. I think if you, I just don't. You can't pin him down. You still can't pin him down. I mean, he's just so difficult.
Secretary.
Bollocks to that.
Told you, didn't I? Didn't I tell you?
I'm not doing that. No. Yeah. And he tells me, oh, there's a real place for you and you're key to the world conservative forum. I think, I don't even know what it is. What the name is. I mean, we might have a first client in London. To do what?
Oh, yeah.
Am I going to knit the person a jumper? Is that, or are they just investing in fresh air?
And bake them a cake.
You know, investing in fresh air. Is that what it is?
And why are they wanting to? Yeah, no, just forget about it. Well, no, I'm not saying.
So I want this to get going so that, because I have to do something. I can't.
Recording, one sec.